Hi, today is a yin practice. I don't know about you, but my body is really craving this one today. So I hope you enjoy it. If you have blocks close by, they are helpful in a yin practice. So we will start seated. We're actually probably going to be seated most of the time today. So we're starting with butterfly. We're going to bring the soles of the feet together. And if this is really uncomfortable right away, there's a few things you can do. You could take a block and prop it up underneath each side to give the legs a little support, or if you wanted to place two side by side and sit on top, or even fold up the back edge of your mat to give yourself a little cushion or elevation for the pelvis. That's sometimes helpful. So encourage the feet and as close as they're willing to come. We're not forcing anything and we're not going into the deepest expression available, but close enough that we're feeling a stretch through the inner hips and the inner thighs. We're going to stay upright with this one today. So maybe you're holding on to the feet or the ankles, encouraging the knees down towards the ground and feeling the hips nice and heavy, the sitting bones grounded. We're lifting up through the crown, so we're sitting up nice and tall. There is some effort and engagement through the center of the body to create and support the long spine. At the shoulders, down through the elbows, into the fingers, and around the face and the jaw, there's a release. We don't have to be engaged in those places. We want to be at ease. Find the next exhale breath and perhaps deepen it a bit to really welcome that feeling of ease in the places where we don't need to be gripping. You could also use the exhale breath just to feel a grounding effect. So again, recognizing how heavy you are beneath the seat. And really settle in to the support underneath of you. The inhale breath reminds us of our length as we lift up through that imaginary string coming out through the crown of the head, our puppet string. So we're sitting tall. And because we're sitting tall, our breath has a nice wide open pathway to travel, and it travels the length of the spine. So you can imagine a swirling energy here that runs from your root, the base of your spine, all the way up through the crown. The exhale welcomes physical ease. We also use it to help try to welcome some mental and emotional ease. So we're letting go of distracting thoughts as we breathe out. Letting go of any emotions that are just kind of clouding our judgment or getting in the way of us being fully present right here on our mats in this moment. In the first few poses, we're just taking a couple of subtle shifts to get to the next place. So from this butterfly, we're going to go into a diamond shape. So we can let go of the feet and slide them out a little further so that the legs make more of a diamond now. Readjust to make sure you're still grounded and maybe even just tilt the pelvis forward a little bit. We'll take a breath in and find some spinal length here as we reach. And then with this one, on the exhale, we're going to come forward. Let the body drape forward. Allow the spine to round. Rest the hands. And again, as you're coming in, just take a nice cleansing, releasing breath out. So we may be noticing the stretch has shifted now kind of around to the back of the hips and along the spine and across the lower back. We can feel the breath now like a wave that travels through the entirety of your torso, that builds and then releases and crashes and empties out. The breath is like our anchor, So it keeps us connected to the moment. It keeps our mind from wandering astray and drifting away. So whenever you recognize that that may be happening, just take another long, slow breath in. Notice how good it feels to let the breath be deep and complete on the way out, also long and slow. The breath alone would be enough for a yoga practice. It is the foundation of the practice. Our bodies will move through various shapes, various poses, but we will always have the breath, and we will try to stay connected to it. If you can breathe, you can do yoga. Following the next exhale, we'll slowly restack the spine, walk ourselves back up. Again, we're just going to make a small change here. We're now going to straighten the legs all the way. So we're going to work into our caterpillar next. Let's go ahead and take a big breath in again. So find that space up through the torso along the spine, and then just lay that space forward over your legs. To remind ourselves that we're not yanking or gripping or pulling into the pose, let's start just by letting our arms rest by our legs along the side and just feel here how gravity is welcoming the depth of the stretch rather than force or effort. We remember that in a yin practice, less is more. So we're not going as deep as we can right away. We're using time and gravity to find our depth, realizing that sometimes it's through the process of letting go that we're able to find a little bit more. So easing out of the depth a bit may let you relax a little bit more. And over time, as the phase change happens, you may just settle into more depth without having to try. Our yin practice lubricates our tissues as we increase synovial fluid and hyaluronic acid. And this happens over time. So we're patient. And if we stay long enough, ease comes through our patience. Depth comes just by being here. Relax your feet. Relax your face. Relax the shoulders a little bit more. That might mean sliding the hands back a bit, bending the elbows a little bit more. Feel gravity taking over in your face. See if you can calm down through your mind as well. So if you're uncomfortable, just remind yourself that a little bit of discomfort is okay. See if you can't use the breath to just exhale any of the mental chatter, distractions, labels that you're placing on your body. So we're getting ready to come out of the posture, but before we do so, let's take a breath in, a big, strong breath. With the exhale, see if there's just a hint of depth, a little bit more available to you. Settle in just a touch more. And then slowly, let's walk ourselves back up. Nice. Let's lean back a little bit here. Let's walk the feet in. We'll go a little wider. We could lift the hips up just for a moment. And then we'll drop them back down. And as we do so, let's take a few windshield wipers here, some exaggerated ones today. You can turn all the way over onto the hip. The other hip and glute may peel all the way up off of the floor. Good. I'm going to turn on the mat now. You can too if you want to. It's up to you, but we're going to go wide with the legs. So we're coming into a dragonfly pose. So take a moment again, just shift around and kind of set the base. We want the sitting bones to be grounded, the heels to be grounded. Knees can be soft, shoulders, neck, face at ease. Maybe even roll the fingers and the feet a few times. Let's lift up here, inhale. As we exhale, we'll drop the arms first, and then we're just going to kind of walk our hands out here. Walk as far as you can with a long spine. And then once you get as far as you can with that long spine, we'll take a breath in. And then with the exhale, give into it. Find a sense of surrender. Allow the spine to round now, the head to drop. Maybe the hands slide back a bit. Just becoming aware of the breath is a practice in and of itself. You don't have to change or manipulate it too much. Just become aware of it. And if your mind is having a hard time being settled today, you can choose any of the breathing exercises that you know from being a yogi, whether that's the equal ratio breathing, where you smooth out the inhale and the exhale and try to match them in length. It could be a recognition of the three parts or the completeness of your breath, where you find the breath low in the torso at the belly and the low back, around the ribs, and then up in the chest and around the shoulder blades, remembering that it's a three-dimensional breath. So it's not just the front body that expands, it's also the back body and the side body. We also have our Ujjayi exhale, that vibrational and slightly audible breath that comes from the back of the throat, that links us into our parasympathetic response through a stimulation of our vagus nerve. We'll probably hold off on the lion's breath during our yin practice. It's a little bit more of an active one. Yep, my body is thanking me already for this practice, and you may not be realizing that yet in your body, but know that your body does really appreciate this gentler practice. This practice where we stay long enough to let some really good things happen that we don't always get in our more active style practices. We're reaching into the deepest layers here. A yang style practice is like climbing the mountain, whereas yin is like exploring the depths of the cave. Let's take one more breath here. Nice cleansing, releasing breath out. And then we'll just walk it back in. We're going to go into deer pose next. So let's bring one leg in, and you're going to hook that foot here at the front of the body. And then the other leg, we're going to hook behind the body. And you can adjust this. You can bring the feet in closer. If you can stretch them out a little wider. Okay, everybody's going to experience this pose a little differently based on your body and just what you need today. So chances are the foot side where the leg is back, this hip is probably popping up a little bit. That's okay to have a little bit of space there, but as much as you can, try to settle into the center of your pose. If there's a whole lot of space and you want to prop it up with a block underneath the hip, you can do that. So we'll start, we're going to change this one a little bit over time. Let's just stay upright for the first few moments, first few breaths. So I'm just kind of tinting my fingertips here out to the side. We're actually going to do 3 different positions with this one. So sitting tall with this first expression, trying to settle into the center of the pose, the center of your seat, and just notice what you're feeling here. Let's have a long neck while we're here, meaning that the shoulders are down away from the ears. Maybe the eyes are closed and the teeth have separated inside of your mouth. Good, so let's keep all of this, but we're going to take the hands in front now. And if it feels okay for you, bring it forward a little bit. Maybe it's just a teeny bit. But start to walk it out. And then you can really anchor your hands here. Kind of push back again into your hips, almost like a child's pose. We want to be heavy in the hips, heavy in the hands. We can let the head drop here. And then just keep breathing. See if this changed your experience at all. Sometimes it just takes really small shifts to have a big impact, a small change. Less is more. It doesn't have to be dramatic to take effect. Mindful though, always mindful. So pay attention to what you're feeling, what you are experiencing. Is this a new experience, a new sensation for the body? Have you been here before? What is today like in comparison to another day? Good. Now we're going to change it one more time. We're going to walk the hands up. We're going to come back up to a long spine. And then we're adding a twist this time. So we're going to walk the hands over towards this front leg, so the foot that's in front. Just turn yourself over that way. See if you can find the floor again. I'm tinting my fingertips again. I'm pushing down into the fingertips, sitting up tall to start. So there's a twist now, a rotation. And then you can walk it out a little bit if you want to. You could come closer to the ground. I've got the circle of my palms rooted down now. Adding a big breath into this one will probably accentuate what you are experiencing. You will expand a bit throughout the body, which will just add some sensation to your stretch, to your pose. Alrighty, for sake of time, we're going to come up out of that one. We're going to take this back leg around to the front. Okay, we're coming into shoelace, which can be a pretty intense one. So if you want to keep the shoelace a little looser today, you could take that back leg and just kind of cross it in front of the other one, like just a nice crisscross there. If it works, you're going to take that foot over the knee. The knee is going to shift to the midline a bit, and this could be enough for you today. If you want a little bit more, let's draw the ankle back, stack the knees. So the ankles are in kind of close, but you can wiggle your seat down between the feet. We'll lift up, inhale, exhale. Let's come forward, hands find the floor. Hips push back, head drops down. Feet are relaxed. Face is relaxed. Shoulders drop down. The exhale helps us settle in. I really like this one. You may not. It's okay if you don't like it. It turns out that a lot of times it's the ones that we don't like that our bodies need the most. And we'll stay just a little longer. Good. Let's go ahead and walk it back up. So we're going to take the top leg and swing it back around the other way. So we're going into, nope, that's not right. Just kidding. I thought that was going to take us to the other side. It didn't, but we're going to go to deer on the other side. So just switch your sides here. One foot is in front and the other foot's behind. Feet can be in kind of hooked in close, or they can be a little bit more spread out. We're going to shift the weight to the center as much as we can. Remember the option to put a block underneath that back hip or up against it. And the first one, we're just going to stay up tall. So fingertips out to the side. Sit up as tall as you can here, which does involve some effort, some engagement through the belly and along the back. But the shoulders could rest and the face could rest and the eyes could close. And that back foot, I just noticed mine was like clenched and gripping. We don't need that. So maybe you wiggle the toes a few times. Relax the arch of the foot. The exhale breath helps us relax. So find the next one, perhaps deepen it, focus on it. You may notice that side to side, the experience of this pose is different. So that's just good information to recognize and take account of so that you know your body a little better. Let's take the hands forward now. We'll sit up tall first, and then we'll just walk it out as far as it feels okay for you. Remembering that a little bit of discomfort is okay and probably what we should be looking for in a yin practice. But pain, sharp pains, that's not what we want. The appropriate edge, stillness, and time. These are the elements of our yin practice. Good, let's go ahead and walk the hands back in, sit up tall again, and now we're going to twist. So we're turning away from the foot side, coming over the other way. Maybe it's the fingertips tinted first so you can sit tall, and then if it's available, you can walk it out a little bit, let the rest of the hand land, press into that a little bit. Deer pose is a pretty close relative to pigeon pose. So notice what you're feeling around the hips, around the lower back. And yin pigeon is known as swan. Good. Let's walk that one back up. We're going to take the back leg, bring it around. So we're on the other side now. So this foot could just cross right in front. It can come up and over the knee. Knee shifts towards the midline a bit. And then you can keep pulling the foot back and kind of nestle those knees right on top of each other and your sitting bones right between the feet, deep against the ground. So shoelace. It's up to you how tightly you tie your shoelace today. Let's reach high. Big breath. And then just come on down and in. Get very heavy here. So not only through the hips, but let your torso be kind of heavy here too. Your feet and your hands, even your head as it drops in. This is another one that you can kind of experience like a child's pose. So the hands can help you push forward a little bit, which helps you bring your hips nice and heavily down against the ground. Good, just a little bit longer with this one, another breath or two. And then we'll go ahead and come on up. Good. Let's uncross. We're going to do a quick expression side to side here, not a yin length expression. But let's take one leg out, the other one in. We're just going to get a little side bend here, just long enough to take a breath. And then we'll relax and release that, and then just switch sides, up and over, side bend. And we'll release. Good. Let's go ahead and go on to the back. And we'll take just a few moments to lift the legs here. If you have some time today, you could come into a legs up the wall, and maybe that's where you want to take your shavasana, your relaxation time. That's really great for the legs and for the whole body and the head and the heart too. For now, though, we'll wrap up our time together. So if you're not staying a little longer with legs up the wall, you can drop your knees to your chest. You can drop your feet to the floor. I do encourage you to stay at least a few more minutes in some variation of a just very restful pose so you can spend some time in your shavasana. You can breathe and be with your body and recognize what has just happened in your body. How did the yin experience go for you today? These moments of stillness are the most important part of our practice. True expression of less is more. So stay as long as you can. Thanks for joining me today.